Hello everyone, it's Wednesday again. Anyone going stir crazy yet? Also, anyone else's hair need a cut? I mean, like, you can't really see it, but it just keeps going and going. So my next interview, something funny, something interesting, something Welsh. Please take a listen to my interview with Christian Patterson. He was amazing. Take a listen.
I have got a couple of questions. Am I good to
Go for it. Go for it.
Brilliant. So my first question, I ask everybody this: where did your love of acting and performing come from? How did it all start for you?
Well, I went to watch my two cousins doing ballroom dancing on a Saturday in Swansea, in a place called the Banqueting Hall in Swansea, just around the corner from the Evening Post building now. And I was 5 years of age, and I kind of slightly got the bug. They were doing ballroom and Latin dancing. And my grandmother asked me if I was brought up with my grandparents, and my grandmother asked me if I'd like to have a go. And I did. I joined. And I then did ballroom and Latin dancing until I was 12. And the only reason that I stopped, actually, was because my partner, Amanda, I was growing. I was like 6 foot by the time I was 12. And she wasn't growing. And it would have meant that she would have had to find another dance partner. I would have had to find another dance partner. But we were so loyal to each other that we just didn't want to do that. So that was where the first sort of bug started, I suppose. And then drama at my school was a bit of a travesty. It was taught by, especially in the first 2 years of secondary school, it was taught by the gym teacher and things. You know, it was never really taken seriously. And so I never really thought about it. And then a teacher called Denise Cavalli joined when I was in my 4th year of comp, I think. And she was just totally inspiring. She was just amazing. And I auditioned for a production of Grease that she was doing, got in, and from there on in, really, it was just a case of, that's it. This is what I want to do with the rest of my life. But I kind of look back and think, God, if she hadn't joined the school when she did, then, you know, I don't know what path I would have gone down, you know. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is mad, isn't it, how one person, you know, not necessarily, but yeah, sparks that interest for you and really shows you, you know, a path that you either hadn't thought of or something that just wasn't available to you. It wasn't accessible, and then opens up this whole new realm of possibilities. And that's actually how you've ended up, you know.
And I think it is taken more seriously these days. It wasn't back in the day, you know. It was the maths teacher has got an hour, he'll teach the drama class, you know, and it was really boring and weak and rubbish. And we ended up doing, you know, if the gym teacher took it, we ended up doing gym stuff. But when Denise arrived, and she announced that she was going to do a production of Grease. In fact, she did a production the year before, but I wasn't actually in that when she did a production of Bugsy Malone. But I went to see that, and I thought, this is incredible, you know. And it just sparked something. And I've never really, since those days, what would I have been, 14, 15 maybe, I've never really wanted to do anything else other than that, which is kind of weird. Because, you know, I know lots of people that go, oh, I did this before that and I did that before this, but it just became everything. In fact, if I'm being honest, all my other subjects suffered because I found drama. I was always in the drama studio, always.
So,
I think my grandmother was a massive positive force in my life, and I miss her desperately. She, you know, she would support anything that I wanted to do. I started playing tennis when I was in my teens, and, you know, was really, really keen on that, and, you know, did quite well at it and things. And she would push that. She wasn't like, no, that's your hobby, or that's, you know, you do that. She was kind of like, just do whatever you feel that you want to do. And I think that's amazing. Also, I had a careers teacher at school, because, you know, they were famous really back in the day for going, well, you want to do this, or this, and anything that was remotely, you know, out there was considered, oh, you don't want to do that. But I had a Carisi, she's still around today, called Keith Millward, who himself had done a lot of amateur dramatics and stuff like that. And I went into the office, and there's people going in and saying they want to work in government or whatever and I went in and I said, I want to be an actor. And he went, fantastic, go for it. And I thought, oh, well, this is great then, So I was lucky there, really.
Yeah, do you know what? Very similar, actually. My careers teacher, she doesn't do it anymore, but yeah, she sat us all down. It was like year 10, and what do you want to do? And I was known within the school for getting up and having a bit of a sing and stuff like that. And she was like, right, please tell me you want to do something to do with this. And I was like, well, I do, but I don't really know how to go about it. And she was like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. She was like, I'll find out. She said, I've no idea, Jen. Honestly, I've no idea. Nobody's ever come to me and said, I want to do, theatre, performing, anything to do with that. But I'll research it and I'll get. And do you know what? She was a star, because I felt like she was in it with me.
Yeah.
But she really listened to what you wanted. And I think that was a huge help for me, because she was just jumped in it with me, and we went on this little journey together. And
yeah. And to be honest with you, that's the one thing about our job that I think is incredible, is that it really is a journey. It's a journey now. You're only, I do believe you're only as good as your last job. It's quite an old-fashioned saying, but I do think that's the case. And I think that given that there's so much unemployment in our chosen field, we're bloody lucky. Do you know what I mean? And so I kind of never take it for granted. That's not to say, mind, that I don't ever fall out of love with it, because there are times where you just think, this business is driving me crazy.
Yeah.
But, I couldn't ever really fathom doing anything else. I can't see that happening. Or fingers crossed that doesn't happen. Anyway.
Yeah. And do you remember your very first role in something? You were talking about being in school there. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I do. It was Vince Fontaine in Greece. So I was the DJ in Greece. And because I'd done quite a lot of sort of more Latin than that, than ballroom for that type of thing. But because I'd done like a lot of jive and things, I ended up with a lady called Cheryl Francis, who was the games teacher who was choreographing it. Ended up sort of choreographing it with her. So it was great. It was absolutely brilliant. Yeah. I mean, it's that there's something about, because I am quite, you asked me about photos and stuff, and I had to struggle to find them online. I found a lot in the end. Good luck with that. But I'm quite a shy person in many respects. But I do remember with Greece very, very specifically, the applause, the sense of people going, that we've come to see you, and it was really, really special. And the following year, we did Jesus Christ Superstar, and I played King Herod in that. And it was completely outrageous. This is just the one song, but completely outrageous. And of course, it is, for want of better words, the showstopper.
Yeah.
The response from that was, it's addictive. It was really addictive.
It is. Yeah.
And then give me the challenge of, I did Jimmy Porter, and I was 16 in Look Back in Anger, and that was, I thought to myself, oh, hold on a minute, plays. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
I was going to ask you then, so it started off kind of in musicals. When was it a play? It was then, was it, that you thought, this is for me?
Yeah. Something just clicked, and there's that amazing feeling of, and it doesn't always happen like this, there's times when you bang your head against the wall as a performer, but there was something about the writing, even at 16, barely able to really understand what Jimmy Porter is really about, because I didn't have the life experience. But there's something about going, oh, hold on a minute, these words and these thoughts, they feel right. And so when it comes out of my mouth, it feels honest.
Yeah.
And, bad writing is so hard on everyone. And there's plenty of it out there. So that when you get to a good play, like a Miller, like a Cartwright, or you get to John Osborne or anyone like that, really, or the modern playwrights. I did a play by Kath Chandler recently, and it was just extraordinary to do because it really good playwrights. When you pick it up, you think, God, this could have been written for me, and then you find out that it was actually written before you were born.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's being able to resonate with not just the character, but the writing. And oh my God, this is I can't comprehend it, but I'm in it. It's that's special. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And are you a Welsh speaker?
No, I wish I was. And I started during lockdown. I thought, right, okay, I'll learn Welsh, and I started this thing with an app. I won't say its name, obviously, but online. And I just got really frustrated with it.
Yeah.
I can't continue like this. I would love to do it. If I was in lockdown now with somebody who spoke Welsh, my wife doesn't speak Welsh either, but if I was in lockdown now with somebody who spoke Welsh, I think I'd be desperate to go, come on.
Yeah, just because I've had a couple of people on that have been Welsh and we've talked about like Welsh, performing in Welsh and how different it is, and I just wondered if you'd ever been in a show that you had to speak Welsh. But
I have been in a show where I had to do the occasional line in Welsh, or quite a lot of Welsh hymns. I did the Alexander Cordell trilogy at Theatr Clwyd, and we had a plethora of the great Welsh hymns in that, and it's beautiful. It just feels like chewing on the most beautiful sweet in the world.
Yeah.
But I hope that one day that I come to it. And do you know what? One of my sort of ambitions is I'd love to do Publicum.
Yeah.
Do it. And people go to me, are you serious? And I go, yeah, I'd love to. To. And Peter, actually, that runs the Torch, Peter Doran, who's a great friend of mine and a real inspiration to me, he did Publicum years ago and played like an English-speaking character, and he was like a detective. And I just thought to myself, I just keep thinking to myself, hey, listen, you need anyone else to come in. Yeah, because, it is massive. It's a tradition, isn't it?
And if you could play any musical instrument, what would it be? If somebody said to you, I'm giving you the gift of a musical instrument.
Oh, it's perfectly simple for me. It'd be piano.
Yeah.
Again, piano, like Welsh, is sort of intrinsically linked to the last question, really. I would love to play piano, but I don't want to sit and learn it. I just want... Do you know when you hear those people who bang their heads badly and suddenly they woke up and they were able to do this, or they were able to do that, these incredible stories? I just want to be able to do it. I don't want to learn it. I just want to sit at a piano, put my hands on the keys and go, look at this!
That's brilliant.
But my grandmother and my grandfather were, when I was born, my grandfather was a miner actually, but my grandmother was a cook. She would have hated, I was going to say chef then, she would have hated that because she would have said, no, what I do is I'm a cook. She cooked good hearty meals and stuff like that. But when I was born, they were both running a pub in Clydach that had a cinema attached to it. Again, I have a feeling this is probably a little to do with why I ended up doing what I did. But my grandmother had two songs that she sang. After You're Gone, she used to sing, and You Are My Sunshine. And I don't have strong memories of it, but I have vague memories of it. She used to tell me about it all through my life, that these are the two songs. So I have vague memories of it. And she always used to say, if you can play piano, you're welcome anywhere. And it's kind of really weird that it has logged in my mind that. It has. So, yeah, it would be piano.
Fab. It's one of those instruments, I think, like you could just sit at a piano, people are singing, you're having a drink, you're having a chat. It's one of those, I think it's a very social, social thing to do, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I am sat here, though, with my ukulele looking up at me, as if to say, are you ever going to learn me? I've played it a couple of times. I did it in Panto as a sort of a laugh joke, really. But yeah, I love musical instruments,
Yeah.
but I find it really frustrating that I just can't play them.
Want to learn them now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I know you do quite a bit of directing, don't you?
Mhm.
How does that differ, do you think, from acting? What different skills do you need? What's the difference in enjoyment?
I've really, really loved the directing I've done. And last year I directed a show at Theatre Clwyd called Wave Me Goodbye. It was the world premiere, actually, of a Jacqueline Wilson book. And it was adapted for stage by a wonderful woman called Emma Reeves. And Emma took a big risk with okaying me for the project, really, because Tamara Harvey, the director of Theatre Clwyd, suggested me. And majority of what I've done is directed sort of huge scale things, but pantomimes,
Yeah.
and very difficult to direct because you just have to have your brain everywhere. And because I'm in them and write them as well, it's a difficult thing.
Yeah.
But Emma okayed it, and Tamara came up with the idea of me directing it, and I, to be honest, I relished it because I think it is something that I want to move into, very definitely. And I think being an actor, here's a prime example. Peter Doran, who I mentioned before down at the Torch, was an actor, and is now a director, though he did act in One Man, Two Governors that I did with him recently.
Yeah.
I think for me, the better directors that I've worked with have gone through the process of being an actor and then gone into the directing side. And I think it just gives you an understanding of what the actor is feeling all the way through the process. None of us like to admit it, but it's a very vulnerable job, actually. And I don't want to sound like boohoo or anything, but when you sit down on the first day of rehearsals and you do the read through, everyone's thinking the same thing. You're thinking, am I crap? Do people think am I going to be? Is this the job that I'm going to get found out on? And you try to make people, if you're in a comedy, you try to make people laugh on that first read through. It's death, absolutely death, because the stage management are there to just follow through the book. The technical people there are just to go, okay, so that'll be where that set changes and blah blah blah. It's death. It's absolutely death. So I think being an actor, when I directed Wave Me Goodbye, for example, I was very open about it and said, "Now you're all sat around this table thinking I'm going to be awful in this, and it's, don't judge me by today, and blah blah blah." And you're not being judged. I am not judging you. I'm here to go through this process with you. And week by week, as you go, okay, second week of rehearsal, third week of rehearsal, fourth week of rehearsal, because you know what you would be feeling along the way. You kind of by osmosis know what they're feeling along the way. So I think in a way they are intrinsically linked as a job. And I think my experience as an actor really has informed the director that I am and want to be, really. Yeah. I mean, in an ideal world, one day, I'd like to run a building. I'd like to be the artistic director of a building and really look at finding and nurturing talent, Yeah. I think it's brilliant when I was watching a clip that Tamara Harvey had put out online about a girl called Caitlin Drake, and she was singing. I would recommend that anyone that's watching this or yourself just put in Caitlin Drake, and what a find! She opens a mouth to sing, and you just go, "That's it." And I was really lucky with my cast for Wave Me Goodbye because I had one person in mind straight away, who I cast, and then I went on to audition for everything else, and all of the first choices said yes. But what was nice for me was that they'd all said in rehearsals that, God, the audition was so lovely because you were so calm, you were so relaxed, and you seemed to understand, if something went wrong, that it wasn't a big deal and everything. And I think, because ordinarily I'm the other side of the table.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah, it's nice that you can bring your experiences into it and make it a nicer, more enjoyable, memorable experience for everybody involved, not just yourself, but for them too.
Yeah.
And hopefully then they want to work with you again, and you can build a relationship with them, and that's
Yeah. I mean, I think all directors have their muse.
And are there any roles, you're saying you'd like to move on to do directing, are there any roles that as an actor you're desperate to do, any show that you're desperate to get your hands on?
Yeah, I'm probably too young for one of them, but I'm desperate to do Death of a Salesman and to Willie Loman. Mind you, having said that, when Dustin Hoffman did it in the film, he was younger than I am now. So maybe not, but that's the other thing, is there's not an awful lot of work out there for us all. So the last thing you want to do really is take a role away from an actor who's actually old enough to play the role. But yeah, Willie Loman is definitely on my sights. And the other one that I've been desperate to play forever, and God knows why, I don't know why, is Richard III.
Okay.
I don't think I'm obvious casting for him, and I think that's why it appeals. And funny enough, talking about Death of a Salesman, I was just yesterday reading, one of my favourite actors passed away yesterday, a man called Brian Dennehy, and I saw him in the West End play Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman. It was an extraordinary performance. And one of the things that I do when I play comedy roles is I look for the tragedy in it. And then if I'm playing a tragic role, I look for the comedy in it. And I don't think it's a unique process, but I've always known it as my thing.
Yeah.
And Brian Dennehy, I was reading an obituary and it said, I play villains like heroes and heroes like villains. And I thought, yeah, that's it. That's the type of thing,
Yeah.
So I just thought, wow, this great actor, and probably many other people, feel the same way as I do. That, the other side of the coin is what's really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And it brings something to it, doesn't it? I mean, like you say, when you're looking at a comedy, everybody just thinks the basics is you want people to laugh. You want people to laugh at you, with you, whatever. But yeah, there always is something else within that character to dig up, unearth, and to go, wow, what else is really interesting about this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because the thing is, if somebody is a generally happy character on stage, you've got to kind of wonder, are they covering up something? Is there something? And are they just like this all the time? I very much doubt it. Mm-hmm. And if they're not like that all the time, what are they covering? Which I think is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
I did a play by it was an extraordinary experience. I did a play by a writer called Sarah Kane. It's a play called Blasted, which is famous for having seen in it where Ian, the for want of better words, leads characters, and it ends up starving and eating a dead baby, and it's famous for that scene. And he's a thoroughly despicable character, completely unlikable, no charm, no, very bullish, very horrible. Yeah. And I kind of have to rewind and go, well, he wasn't born like that.
Yeah.
So what's the process of him coming to be like that? At one time he must have laughed. One time he must have loved. It must have happened at some point. What's the process to get him to there? Having said that, I'm not an actor that likes to take a lot of baggage on stage with me. So I do a lot in rehearsals, and then go, no, forget it. It's all in there now. Yeah. Let it do its own thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always ask people a couple of random questions. If you could have one superpower, special power, what would it be?
Invisibility.
Straight off the bat, that was.
Jen, don't think I haven't thought about it over the years. It would absolutely be invisibility, and I think actually that's part of that's part of the acting in me as well, because isn't it terrible that I like to kid. I think we all like to kid ourselves. You think, oh, I don't care what people think. I don't care what people think, But isn't it terrible that that is linked to me thinking I'd love to go into a room, say hi to everyone, or do a scene or whatever, blah blah blah, and then say, right, okay, see you later. Nip into the other room, become invisible, and go back in and hear what they actually think. Though part of me. Literally, Jen, though, right? I have to say, my bum is squeezing like this now at the thought of them saying something terrible. But yeah, it's invisibility.
Yeah, absolutely. I know.
What's yours?
Mine. So, do you know what? Nobody's ever asked me back a question. Well, I'm not sure. You know what? I think I'd love to be able to time travel.
Oh yeah.
Just because I love a story. I love a moment in time, a moment in history. I even awful tragic events. I really love listening to them, hearing about them. So yeah, I think I wouldn't want to live in any other time period, I don't think, because everybody says, oh well, look at what's going on now, but I think every time period has had some sort of natural disaster or something happen within it. So I don't think I'd want to live in another time period, but I'd love to just be able to see all these different things, and yeah, I love hearing people's stories. I love hearing about people felt in those moments. It's a big thing for me. I could sit and listen to people all day.
Yeah, I'm the same. The same. My wife always says to me, right, and it's one of the things that I'm missing now. When we go out, if Michelle says I'm just going to nip in this shop, and I think, oh, I won't come, I'll just sit here. She always jokes that she'll come back and I'll always be sat next to an old man or an old woman going, and how's your leg now? Is it really? And you just go, I love it.
Yeah, I do because I find it really shapes who you are, and people say things like, you hear people say things like that, and everyone goes, oh God, seriously. But it really, it either has been that moment in my day where it's made me smile, or been that moment in my day where it's really it choked me up, or it's been just something that, you think, oh, I'll have a bit of gossip with, Joan down the road. Anything like that. It just impacts who you are, how you go about your day. And then when you do theatre, you weirdly, I write shows for children, so it's not, your big masterpieces. It's no big, Shakespearean play. It's for children to perform. But
yeah.
a lot of the comedy and things that come into it, like, you'll hear the audience laughing, and certain people go, do you know what, that really reminded me of, and it'll be whatever it reminds them of, a person, scenario, a situation. But that's where I've got it from. I've got that little bit of, Marge, when every time I see her in Tesco's, and she always, I pick it, and I think that that's why I love listening to people and talking to people, and it shapes who you are and what you do.
He's sadly passed away now as well, but have you ever heard of a Welsh playwright called Frank Vickery?
No.
Right, Frank Vickery, for me, is one of the great listeners in life, right? All of his plays, I think he's written about 40 plays. They're all based in Wales, right? Yeah. And I swear to you, you can pick up any one of his plays. I would recommend either 1 O'Clock from the House or Kiss in the Bottom, but you could pick up any one of his plays and you'd go, I know all these people. It's literally extraordinary, and the things that they used to say. He's kind of like, people say he's kind of like the Welsh Acorn. I don't think that's quite right, really. Acorn is intrinsically middle class. Frank is Valley's working class. Right. But you would go, oh, my auntie says that, or I know someone that said, and it's hilarious. Honest to God, it's brilliant.
He's on the list. I'm going to write.
Well, going back to the invisibility, though, right? My mate Jamie Tyler, who I've worked with in Panto, he's been at the RSC recently. He's a fantastic actor. He came up with rubbish superpowers. So superpowers that you can do, but something that sort of negates the power completely. And he came out with, which I thought was genius, by the way. You can be invisible, but only when you're going, ah! Completely pointless, because everybody knows you're there.
That's brilliant. But but you know what? How childlike is that? You know, kids would do that. Kids would put an invisibility cloak and then start screaming. You know, it is, and that's another thing. It like links into, then you could put that into a performance, and kids would find that genuinely hysterical.
Oh, absolutely. I remember, I think the entire of Christmas we just ended up going, ah! Just like, what's the matter? I'm invisible. Ignore me. You know.
I love it. That's brilliant. My next bizarre question is, what is the most random purchase you've ever made on Amazon or online? Something that you've either never used or just gone, why did I buy that?
Do you know, Amazon must love me, because I'm kind of like, if I don't buy something from Amazon at least every other day, then I'd be very, very surprised.
I do too.
Yeah. So this I thought would be of use, right? And turned out to be of no use whatsoever. And in fact, was the reason why I said to you, I'm just going to nip out because I want to catch the port and take it back. So now that we are indoors a lot, and I've been filming a thing called Isolation Nation, a friend of mine's been writing, and we've been putting them on YouTube, playing a character called Dave, who's isolated with his wife and his 2 children. And I thought, well, if I want to, they're all recorded in natural daylight, and I thought, if I want to record them at night or later on, I'm going to have to get some sort of light, you know. So I bought one of these Ring LED things.
Okay.
And all it did was put 2 perfect white circles in my eyes. It was wherever I moved it, I just seemed to have like white thing. So that's going back today. Yeah.
Brilliant. I love it.
I obviously thought I was some sort of model or something as opposed to an actor, and it was awful.
I thought I was some sort of movie star. When I decided I was going to do this, I was like, no worries. Everybody on YouTube says you need brilliant light. So I said to my father, can you come and get all these things down from the roof? Love him. He had all these spotlights, you know, like lamps and everything. I looked like a Simpson character. I don't know what happened. I was like, and you look on all these videos with all these, you know, people saying, oh yeah, it's amazing, you know, it's got to have the light. And I was like, why is this not working for me? What am I doing wrong? What is it? And I literally have my bedroom light on and I'm sat next to the window, and I was like, it looks all right to me. I'm rolling with that. That's
well, literally, it have 2 settings for me, this thing, because it had a couple of settings on lights. One they called soft and one they called harsh. Well, harsh, I looked like a ghost, like I was dead, and soft, I looked like Donald Trump. I'm sorry, I don't want to look like either of those things. Do you know what I mean?
No, neither are appealing. No. I know. I didn't understand it either. I thought, oh well, so yeah, bless him, he traipsed them all back up into the attic. I said, I'm really sorry, but it did nothing. You know. Yeah. If anything, it made me look worse. We're not rolling with that. You don't want to look worse, do you?
Oh, God, no, absolutely. I mean, having said that, I'm desperate for them to go, and hairdressers and barbers are key workers. So, you know, I would have gone for a haircut and a trim had I known we were going to be in the house for...
Yeah.
And my wife keeps going to me, I'll cut it. I used to work at a hairdresser. And it's perfectly true. She did work at a hairdresser, but she swept up the hair on the floor.
She was the receptionist.
I'm not putting my face in her hands.
Well, funny you should say that, because my dad said to me, oh God, look at this. And we are people, look at this. I mean, I promise you this was cut, but it's just crazy. Our hair just grows like wildfire. And he said, I can't stand this. This is a joke. And yeah, we found some clippers, and my mother said, please don't cut his hair. You don't know anything. I literally know zip about anything like that. Please don't play. So the long and the short of it is, he trusted me. His mistake. With these, I literally, as I did the first thing, he went, I could hear. I was like, can't go back now. Just took this thing. I'm in the garden. I said, this is brilliant. This is like shearing sheep. When have you ever sheared sheep? Well, I haven't, but I just stood imagining on his face. Just took all his. Love him. He is bald. Like there is very little hair on his head, but we know that, you know, it's going to go back in a couple of weeks. So
yeah, it'd be like what's that character they used to have when you were younger? I can't remember the name of him now. Where you used to turn the handle, and it was Play-Doh, like a Play-Doh barber, and hair came out of the and then it and put it back in. But Kai, my best mate Kai Owen, he's had, because he was in a show, so he was having that was pulled because of the coronavirus, and there was a London run of it planned for, I think, late June, around that time, and they've just been told that they can't do it, you know. So the first thing he did was, well, I'm going to have a haircut then. So he shaved his head. He looks like Uncle Fester. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's got a great shaped head, far better than mine. But it was one of those things where I'd zoomed in the night before. You know, hey, boy, you doing all right? And then the next day I was like that. Hiya, you're right. Yeah, I've shaved my head. You go, I know, yeah.
Yeah. There's something different. And my very last question for you is, I don't know if you'll be able to answer it, but when all this kind of like is gone and we get back to our own sense of normal, do you know what you're going to be doing?
Been booked for Panto since January last gone, you know, because as soon as we finish Panto, you're booked up normally for the next year.
Yeah.
But whether or not that will happen now, I don't know. And I've submitted my first draft of Beauty and the Beast for Theatre Lloyd, and we had a Zoom meeting about that yesterday, and fingers crossed that will go ahead. So the answer is there are things that are there.
Yeah.
Whether or not they'll go ahead, I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? It's so weird.
It is.
It actually makes my stomach go slightly because, you know, it's so linked to who you are as a person.
Yeah.
You know, as I spoke about earlier, you know, we're all lucky to be working. Though one thing I did hear the other day, and I thought, oh, that's great, that's quite fun. I can't remember where I heard it. It was on TV or something like this, you know. And an actor was saying, well, at the moment, you know, I feel, because, you know, when you're an actor and you're not working, you're thinking, oh my god, am I ever going to work again? All that sort of stuff. Yeah. I'm very lucky, and I'm going to touch wood when I say that. But I heard this guy on TV say, well, at the moment, my career is going as well as Benedict Cumberbatch, you know. And I thought, yeah.
Truth. That
is
the truth. Yeah.
Because nobody can do anything.
No, we've got to make that of a awful situation, haven't we, and try and, you know, support one another. And I think that's what's great about this industry, though. I think it is quite a supportive place to be, you know, not just friends. You can reach out to people that you don't know, and you can build friendships and relationships and bonds with people that, yeah, you don't know.
No, absolutely.
Happen to all be in the same situation. Everybody right away around the world is in the same place. And it is quite nice to have that break that you wouldn't have ordinarily given yourself to reach out and network with all these other people.
Absolutely. I mean, this has been a pleasure, you know. So so, you know, it's and also, to be honest with you as well, given that, you know, there's not much to break up your days, you know, when, you know, we're going to do this at 1 o'clock today, when I couldn't get into Skype on my phone, I started to panic. I thought, whoa, that's my thing for today. What's happening? Do you know what I mean? But, you know, the other plus side is I've read a lot and, you know, I've watched a lot of TV and lots of, and some of the stuff that I've watched has been fantastic. Documentary called Tiger King on Netflix, if anyone hasn't seen it, is brilliant. I watched Quiz, the drama about, I mean, that sensation. Michael Sheen, mind-blowingly brilliant. what a pool of talent we have in Wales.
Yeah, very, very true. Yeah, there's some fantastic things out at the moment, and it's also nice to see things that have come back that people, people are like, oh, I forgot about that, or they're running things, and yeah, it is and not a time that we all wanted and we all want again.
No.
It has been a time that we are able to breathe and do something.
Yeah, but mark my words though, the creative boost that comes after this is going to be huge, because there are writers, producers, directors, actors, all sitting in confined spaces at the moment, looking for things to do. The one thing you can do is think about the future.
Absolutely, definitely, absolutely. Well, you've been a star. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
I really appreciate it. And I'll send you a link when this goes up on the channel. Love to stay in touch. That'd be fab.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely do that.
Thank you so much for your time. Take care.
Nice to meet you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Huge thanks to Christian. So, more guests still to come, and also I need to decide what I'm doing with the mop. Take care, have a lovely week, and I'll see you on Saturday, normal time, normal day, for another very special guest. Take care, bye-bye.